When I watch what people complain about, it breaks my heart because they completely lack perspective. And I genuinely believe my happiness and optimism comes from my perspective. The reason I keep telling everybody kindness is a strength is I'm super nice and super passive actually. And like I'm willing to let people take advantage of me because I'm strong inside. So I'm trying to start conversations that I believe in. I believe there are hundreds of thousands of people who would become miraculously happier if they saw the world in a different way.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 and 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 and 9. This one's for my top 10.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You have Michael Jordan level talent at something. So get ready to stop complaining, find your real talents, and have kindness with Gary Vaynerchuk and my take on his top 10 rules of success to give you the confidence, motivation, and belief that you need. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule #1. Stop complaining and start living.
When I watch what people complain about, it breaks my heart because they completely lack perspective. And I genuinely believe my happiness and optimism comes from my perspective. Even in political unrest times like right now, a lot of people are very bent out of shape, but the reality is that it's just never been better to be a human being. That's just the truth. That's just data. That's reality. And yeah, I mean, it's just a very fun time to be alive. So much going on. The internet is starting to hit maturity. Look what we're doing right now. This right now, right, would have cost millions of dollars in production and distribution to have the amount of people who watch this just 15 years ago. like you know, I just think it's very interesting times. And I was saying something to a friend the other day. I was like, could you imagine if you told a parent 15 years ago, hey parent, what you're gonna wanna do in 15 years, instead of buying a kid, your 16-year-old, a car, you're gonna convince your 16-year-old daughter to go into a stranger's car every single day. You're gonna pay for your 16-year-old daughter to go into a stranger's car every single day, and you will think that's normal and actually safer than buying that kid a car. That's literally what we're living in now. High net worth individuals in America are preferring to give their kids unlimited Uber to buying a car because they don't want them drinking and driving, they don't trust their driving, and literally they think it's safer for their 16, 17-year-old to go into a stranger's car than to drive themselves. That's sacrilege 15 years ago. Online dating 20 years ago. The weirdest, nerdiest, you're thinking 300-pound white dude in the basement of a kid's car, now it's just completely standard. I mean, if you add in sliding into people's DM on Instagram, it's like 89% of relationships, right? So, you know, I think that we are, I think we're going through a huge transition because all of us, even thought leaders, are grossly underestimating the internet itself, and we're hitting scale, right? We now all are on at all times, and this is now the beginning. I was joking while I was working out this morning to D-Rock. I'm like, D-Rock, you're gonna get replaced by like a Pokemon ball. Like I'm gonna throw it up. Like people in 20 years are literally gonna throw something up and just gonna hover 360 and film everything they're doing. I mean, like it's just an incredible time. And I think the way people look at the world right now, because it's such an incredible time, is actually the quickest tell to who they are. If you think it sucks or it's bad, you have losing, pessimistic DNA. And if you think it's awesome and phenomenal, you have optimistic, winning DNA. And I believe that to be true.
Rule #2, see the world in a different way.
There's something very in the air that is manifesting to me that's clear, which is we have a lot of people out there that really pretty much live their lives based on other people's opinions. And I just know that right now somebody's listening or watching who overextended themselves and owns things they can't afford, actually desperately loves their parents. Like, you know, it probably comes from a place of like, secretly, I'd like to still be living with my parents. I like them so much. It'd be nice. You know, I don't feel a burden if I walk through the kitchen and be like, hey mom, like I can live my life, but like it'd be nice to say, hey mom, like I like it. Anyway, nonetheless, I think a lot of people are overextended and I think they can restart. And if they're in the context of you're overextended, You're underwater, you're in debt, you're living too much above your means. You can sell off your home that you bought that was too big for you in the first place, get some level of dollars back, or at least get out of debt or a mortgage, move back in with your parents, which is if you're not worried about your high school friends or your coworkers saying, oh, I'm sorry that you moved back in with your parents, if you can deal with the stigma, well then that's probably a nice way to save some, first of all, again, plenty of parent and children relationships are not great, but plenty are amazing. And
good enough to save the money.
There's millions of relationships out there where both the kid and the parent would think it's the greatest thing that ever happened that the kid came back and lived there for a year or two, including the family, but people have pride or have a preconceived notion that that's unacceptable. That's in the air. And so I'm trying to start conversations that I believe in. I believe there are hundreds of thousands of people who would become miraculously happier if they saw the world in a different way and did something as practical and as out of left field in at least today's popular society as selling their home, getting back that equity, moving in with their folks for a couple of years and reestablishing a career. One of the big things that I'm passionate about is, are you doing something you enjoy to do? Like happiness and fulfillment has to become a much bigger part of the conversation than financial upside. I'm always very hurt when people think that I'm pushing hustle and too much work and make it for the money. My behavior doesn't map to that. I would have been a venture capitalist then. Like I'm talking about actually liking what you do and being in a place where you don't have issues or internal mindset struggles because you actually have been able to start the process of not worrying about other people's opinions.
Rule number 3, find your real talents.
I think that I could play basketball every day of my life from the time I was 15 and put in 15 hours a day. And I think I'd be really good. I'd have a much better handle. I'd shoot better. I would have been more competitive with you on the boat that day. But would I have been good enough to be in the NBA? Absolutely not.
Maybe D3.
Maybe.
College.
Maybe. And I do think right now that everybody thinks they can be an entrepreneur. And so my point was, it's much more talent than the current conversation. I don't think you can read The School of Greatness and my books and all these other books and watch Skillshares and watch Chase Jarvis and listen to Ferris and read Branson and even go to business school and have mentors and go to Y Combinator, and then all of a sudden, just because of that, you become a great entrepreneur. I think of it like the music industry. Think about all the kids that are born into, your Clive Davis's grandson or your Whitney Houston's daughter, or you have nothing but access. You're in the studio all the time. You learn the business. But if you don't have the chops, if you don't have the vocals, you're only going to go so far. It's much more talent than people realize. I see it every day. And the video I made was like, look, you have to be okay that by pouring in 18 hours a day and learning everything might only allow you to build a business that makes $100,000 a year.
Right.
There is an absolute misconception that the American dream is entrepreneurship and everybody can do it. The difference between entrepreneurship and football is everybody who's listening right now or watching can start a business. Not everybody can go work out for the New York Yankees. There's a system. There's no system in place for entrepreneurship.
Anyone can do it.
At 16 or 22 stops you and says, hey man, you're going to lose a shitload of money and be miserable. And literally, I'll be honest with you, I'm starting this conversation for quite a noble reason. This is not me to impose my will and say, look how special I am. As a matter of fact, I'd rather think it's been the hard work than the talent. I'd rather think it was something I did versus mom and dad had sex at the right moment. I'd much rather think that.
Rule number 4, put in the work.
I'm careful to not give advice that I know is uniquely something that I was gifted with. Like, how do I tell you that, oh, here's how it actually works? And it almost started happening, it didn't happen. Like, I actually get goosebumps. Like real heavy goosebumps when I hear something that I know feels right. What's the advice there? Hey, Johnny, start getting goosebumps. Like, there's certain things that I can't talk about because I know they're not practical. They're intuitive to me, right? And so, yes, for me, it's the balance of I feel like something's happening, but it always comes from seeing stuff. Like it's going to the candy store with my little guy and hearing 4 8-year-old girls talk about slime, and then later go to Shake Shack and hear another 2 8-year-old boys talk about slime, and I'm like, slime? And then I search it, and this is like a year ago, and I search it, maybe actually it's 18 months ago, and I search it on Instagram to see hashtags, I search it on YouTube, I search Google, I'm like, this is real. There's something happening. Spinners, right? Like fads are easy for me, and I think what I've been good at in business is trying to decide what's a fad and what's an actual business. So something like Social Cam. I downloaded it and got very serious about it in 2011. I didn't know even the founders of Social Cam. It wasn't that I knew if Social Cam was gonna be big. I didn't invest in it, I didn't go after it, but I knew video on the mobile device was gonna be big. So when Vine got hot very quickly, I was an early mover, an early advocate of Vine and Vine influencers, right? Which, by the way, Vine influencers are absolutely the precursor to this Snapchat, Instagram thing we're dealing with right now. That's where they came from first. Instagram was photos. Then when Vine was dying a little bit, they all moved over to Instagram. Instagram was smart and made video, 1-minute videos, and that's when you saw the shift, and that became the seed and the foundation of Instagram influencers, which is an enormous billion-dollar industry now. Everyone's like, how are you so early? It's because I put in the work. 2011, Social Cam, learn how video on mobile works. 2013 comes along, Vine pops. I'm like, that's right. I lived through YouTube 2006-07, being a YouTube celebrity for my wine show, so I knew what it looked like. I saw that the Vine kids were that. I flew to LA and met Brittany Furlan and King Batch. I put in the work. And so it's intuition, but it's also putting in the work.
Also, if you want to have more confidence, self-love, and motivation, check out my 254 series. They're free. The links to join are in the description below.
The reason people aren't patient is they value other people's opinions too much. In a success world, please understand that success is happiness, not net dollars in. My ability to only be comfortable in massive chaos has been my biggest asset as an entrepreneur. Like, I would never take a note. Like, that scares the piss out of me what these 3 people are doing right now.
Rule number 5, have kindness and humility.
When you're scared or nervous or not confident, a lot of people have DNA that makes them overcompensate. I call it a cactus. They're a cactus. They're tough on the outside, but they're soft on the inside. The reason I keep telling everybody kindness is a strength is I'm super nice and super passive, actually, and like I'm willing to let people take advantage of me because I'm strong inside. So the question is, you have to just know if you're nervous, if you're using, fake confidence to actually hide something you're concerned about. Humility is an incredible strength that many men and many people never want to show. I put out content more about me passing on Uber and losing than I do about the things I win on. Everybody else puts out content of fake wins. That's the difference.
Rule number 6, don't run away from who you are.
Look, my friends, you can't run away from who you are. You can try to mold yourself into a politically correct world, and luckily we're way beyond, well, not way beyond, this is unfair, but I'm glad that the world is now focusing on other variables. We'll always have race and religion and sexism and those things, but now we're leveling up even into like what's a modern dad and like, what fit work-life balance and things of that nature. Look, I know the optics. I know I'm living a public persona. I know I have to answer these questions. Look how many work-life questions you got. Mm-hmm. I'd like to be politically correct. I'd like to be perfect. I'd like to make it easy on myself to not have to deal with the stress of the optics on the outside. Here is the punchline problem. You can't run away from who you are. You can't. And so I'm ambitious. Like I want it.
Rule number 7, understand timing.
There's a big difference between the people that bought, beachfront property in Malibu than people that are buying beachfront property in off region, no infrastructure, islands in the Caribbean, which is right in theory, but it could be an 80-year theory, right? And so it's about timing. Like VR's coming, but consumer VR is very far away. All my friends are spending millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars in consumer virtual reality, VR, yet there's nobody here, nobody watching this that knows a single person that spends 3 hours a day on VR. right? Like it's way far away. I'm not sure there's people that know people that have spent 3 hours in their life yet in VR, right? And definitely not 10 people outside of people in the business testing stuff. So I think timing really matters on that, because I get worried that people jump way too far ahead and the reality is the market's not there yet.
Rule number 8, don't seek validation from others.
Why do you think that people are getting distracted with consumer purchases, the car they can't afford?
Because people are insecure and they need validation from others. And I think they use items to get validation from others. I really do. I think when I think about anything I buy, it's 100% for me. Even all the tchotchkes, the thrill of finding them at a garage sale, or like the one thing I actually buy that I think is silly is like custom New York Jets jerseys, but it's so for me. And I'm happy that I don't buy things for other people's opinions, but I think most people do.
Rule number 9, think long term.
I am successful in business because I don't give a about tomorrow. I care about 36 months from now, 52 months from now, 83 months from now.
Yeah.
When everybody who's our contemporary is saying now, Gary, Snapchat, what? Like, I'm like, cool. You're judging Snapchat right this second. You haven't started doing it, or you just started and you only have 187 people watching your stories.
Yeah. You're going to where the puck's going to be.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, you're not worried about 2022 when your email service and your Twitter account aren't relevant. And what are you going to do?
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is mix up your content.
Today, I'm just gonna make something I wanna make because tomorrow, I'll make something that you want me to make. When you're not crippled every single piece of content, you can accomplish everything. The framework of producing content every day gives you permission to do many things when you look at it over a year, not over a day.
Okay.
If you're crippled by every piece of content, well, then you have a struggle. When you realize that you're putting out 53 pieces of content this week, or 7, or 5, well, all of a sudden, you can do whatever you want on every individual piece of content because you don't have to achieve both contrarian goals in a single piece of content. The reason I just put out that piece of content is everybody's falling into a trap of making content that works on the platform.
Yeah.
Or you know what works, so you keep doing it, but then eventually it becomes boring for you or for them. It's very important to mix up your content, otherwise it becomes stale, either for the person that makes it or for the audience that consumes it.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from Gary on how to eliminate fake it until you make it that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Let's go from just watching a video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1, where do you need to stop seeking validation from others? Number 2, where do you need to stop complaining? And number 3, how can you show kindness and humility to somebody this week? And if you made it this far in the video and you promise to take action, give me a hashtag believe down in the comments below because I want to celebrate you.
The biggest issue in our game right now is people thinking they have to fake it till you make it. Guys, faking till you make it was good when the internet wasn't around. Now people hear the bullshit coming out of your mouth. Every single kid that's ever tried to fake it until she or he made it in a meeting with me lost. Because I'm like, this person's full of shit, they're out. No, you don't have to be an expert as long as you don't say you're an expert. Do you know why I love Q&A? Because I'm not scared. Because I'm gonna answer all your questions, and if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna say I don't know. And that doesn't make me any less capable of standing on this stage. In fact, it is the reason I can stand on this stage. Evan, thank you so much for having a couple seconds and being able to tell the Believe Nation a little bit about Empathy Wines. It means a lot to me that you would take this valuable real estate and time on your channel to give me some love. It means a lot. It's just good karma points, and so you're awesome. Thank you. Believe Nation, if you're into wine at all, go to empathywines.com. My whole career's work was poured into producing a wine that rivaled $40 to $60 wine for 20 bucks a bottle. I'm just super excited about this subscription-based wine business. You can order 3, 6, so 12 bottles in subscription form, rosé, white, red. If you search on Instagram or Twitter, you will be blown away. People are literally like, I don't even like Gary Vee, but the wine's good. Super proud of the effort. Thanks, Evan, for the time. Wishing you guys all happy and healthy.
If you want 10 more amazing rules from Gary Vee, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
We have to make positivity louder, but positivity has to be grounded in practicality. The reason I think my voice can be unique at times is because